Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sharpest Football College podcast brought to you by LeanTossup Sports. My name is Robert Martin, and I am joined, as always, with my co-host, BuckMetrics. How did you find Rivalry Week?
It was fun until I was kind of left staring at a playoff scenario I'm really not excited about. I'll say that. And if things go according to my fears, good luck in the Bowls, everybody. And I'll talk to you in 2024. You might not see me for the bowl previews. I might just kind of check out on college football at that point.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, so just quick note here because we recorded last week on Monday, I think, right? Yeah, I think we did Monday. We did before the
Yeah.
committee's rankings last week. This week we are recording Tuesday. You'll be seeing this on Wednesday, and the committee just released their rankings, and my mouth fell open when I saw who was number 6. I was in shock. Not because to be fair, it's funny. Not because I disagree with it. They're right, but they're right for the wrong reasons. Which is, I mean, okay, I guess in some cases 2 wrongs do make a right, I guess. But it's just like you're basically setting the stage to break every rule you've ever created. So, okay. But anyways, all right. Let's get on to the recap of last week, and then we'll talk about the train wreck that could happen this weekend. So. Let's
Okay.
go.
I'll just say that, yeah, they do that every year. It's like, oh, that was last year guy. Yeah, no, that's not this year's rules.
Yeah.
Okay. Who won the week? This is Jason Benetti and Brock Heward. If you don't know Jason Benetti's story, there was complication. Now, let's just take a step back here. These two did the Washington State game, which was a great game. Jason Benetti, if you don't know his story, there were complications with his birth. He actually has cerebral palsy, and he is an excellent announcer. I love when these two do games. They are awesome. Brock Heward actually played at Washington. He was a really, really good quarterback, played in the Apple Cup, I believe 3 or 4 times. Anytime he does a game I'm watching, I love it because he's so good and he's very objective and very insightful, and he's unafraid. So these two did the Apple Cup, like I said, which was, it was much closer than I think a lot anticipated. And, the more you went along, the more you had the whole dynamic. You could see like little shots of like, especially the Wazoo fans. They seemed so outnumbered, and you could see that they were just fighting like kind of like they're on the wrong side of the battle in so many. I mean, they're outmanned on the field. They're basically like literally the last vestige of the Pac-12. And I can't say I wanted him to win, but I had serious empathy for him. This game really it was such a fun game to watch because of that larger story. To me, this was the last Pac-12 game, regular season game. The other ones, fine, whatever, fun, but just not nearly as focused and like stakes and just all the storylines of this one. So you had a dramatic finish. Washington wins a really close game. Heward, he's really choked up. He's played in the Apple Cup. He's talking about, this is the last Apple Cup. I've got literally tears running down my face because this is just like such a touching moment. And he said it so well. He's struggling to get words out. And after a second, he pauses. He just says, "Thank you, college football." And it was so elegant and so well put. And it totally encapsulates why I love this sport. You can just literally just say that, "Thank you, college football," because there's just things that are just unique to this sport, and that's why we love this sport.
Yeah, I watched a lot of this game as well, and I love their commentating duo. I think they're definitely one of the better commentating duos for college football. But no, like, and I think they, at one point they said it in the broadcast, is this one has a little something extra in it.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it does. And it's, I wanted Washington State to win, even though they theoretically shouldn't have won the game. I had stuff on Washington. I was like 16 and a half is too many points. So and I had Cam Ward over 2.5. Like, again, I thought they were going to make this a competitive game because it's like, yeah, this is their last stand. Like, literally, it was announced, I think it was either today or yesterday, I can't remember, but they've now announced a specialty scheduling deal with the Mountain West. They were going to give them like $15 million or something. And then someone pointed out it's like this is actually cheaper than them signing side deals with a bunch of FCS teams to schedule them. And it just hit me that it's like actually, yeah, like the biggest issue Washington State and Oregon State have is like, who are we even playing next year? Like
Yeah.
it's that's how crazy. Like this is completely falling apart. Like we're past even the getting into another conference, the trying to rebuild the pack. We're like we don't even have a schedule for next year because everybody who we play is gone. Like
Hmm.
that's how bad this has gotten. And it's
Yeah.
like yeah, it's this is definitely a lot on Washington. And I think someone made the point that it was basically there was a deal on the table for the Pac-12 to survive with I can't remember, I think it was like Apple and something, and it was
Yeah.
going to go through, and then Washington at the last second said, "Okay, we're going to go to the Big Ten, and then we're going to take Oregon with us, and that's it. Oregon, Washington, the Big Ten." And then from what I saw some rumblings of it, that it was Washington that pulled the trigger on it. Washington said, "We're doing this. We're done." And then I mean that's very. I mean it's yes, it's I guess legally Washington is inculpable, but yeah, that's their fault because they triggered a bunch of dominoes that landed off with Oregon State and Washington State just sitting alone. And yeah, it's a tragedy, and I think they are still playing the Apple Cup again next year, I believe. Um, but like we're at a point now where like I mean Oregon State's head coach is gone.
Yeah.
These teams are about to be absolutely decimated in the transfer portal, and they because they can't compete. It's they have basically been this is like relegation, and it's not even relegation because like Washington State is going no Washington State's not going to a bowl, but Oregon State was like a ranked team. They're probably still top 30ish, something like that. They actually had a pretty good season. They should be continuing on, but nope, they're gone now because of money and stuff. And it's on one hand it's very sad, but on the other hand it's these are the storylines of college football, and we love like stuff like this is and the emotion that goes into some of these games, right? Like in the game there in Michigan, Ohio State, and in the Apple Cup and all these games. This is why we love this sport because crazy stuff happens in the sport and there's insane storylines, and we're going to talk about probably some that are going to kind of make history a little bit later too, but it's just like some of these moments in this sport are just absolutely insane, and you can't script this stuff just happens, and it's crazy as it plays on national television. And yeah, this is why we love this sport.
Exactly. And it's kind of interesting, in 20 years from now, you're going to be telling Robert Jr., Oregon and Washington, USC and UCLA, they used to be in the Pac-12, that concert that has Wyoming and Nevada and Washington State. And it's going to be like, what? That doesn't make sense. That's dumb. Why did they do that? It's just going to be a
Yeah.
completely different frame of reference. It'll be interesting. So,
Hmm.
all right. Who do you have here? You have an eye chart, apparently, won the week.
Yeah, so this is the so Sickos committee. Shout out to them. I was following them. They were updating this graphic all weekend. This is the bowl eligibility chart, and on the bowl eligibility chart, it was basically like I think it was I can't remember what the exact number was because it doesn't say it here, but I think it was like 10 people on this list had to lose for James Madison and not yeah James Madison and Jacksonville State to make a bowl, and they did it before even we knew the results of Cal and Colorado State, and like shout out to them, like they beat the NCAA, so I mean they did it in a weird round way, but they got their victory. So I and the thing is like it was an amazing weekend. There were so many good games on here, so many insane games on here too. Like Iowa, Nebraska, that easily could have gone the other way.
Yeah.
Arguably should have, as both teams tried to lose that game. It seems like, um, yeah, just absolute insanity. BYU again, just completely throwing that game. Yeah, just crazy. And again, Washington State could have easily won, right? So and well, we're going to talk about Florida later, but this is like so many of these could have gone the other way, and basically you would have denied better teams for weaker subpar teams just because of some stupid NCAA rule. So they finally get their chance to play in a bowl. Yeah. Now to be fair, I don't know how the rankings work. I don't because like generally there's like oh it's this team number one versus this team number two or whatever. I don't know if they're seeded as the number one choice or if that doesn't matter. Who knows? Maybe they're gonna play. Maybe they get to play some 6-6 team and absolutely destroy them. I don't know. I'm intrigued to find that out in a couple days. But yeah, shout out to them. I'm actually I'm. This was like aside of all the other storylines this weekend, this was the storyline like I cared about the most. Like straight up, I just wanted them to be in a bowl, and they got it. So I'm actually so happy for James Madison and Jacksonville State.
Yeah, and clearly, the word's out on GMU. Jacksonville State will be interesting to see in a bowl game because I guarantee you they're going to be overlooked by everybody except the sharpest of the sharps. And I think even though I didn't have a money line, I think you had a little bit of a money line when they played South Carolina. Um,
Mm-hmm.
had that gone differently, I think the narrative would have been totally different. You would have seen outrage about you know, how stupid is it that this team actually beat an SEC team on the road and they can't, they need you know, special passage to get a bowl bid. This is dumb. But at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, that would have put them on the radar. They're legitimate. We'll see them in part two. They pop up in some of those ratings. So I kind of like how that's lining up. That'll be a fun team. Now it'll be weird if they play. I don't know if they play. Like in like the quick lane against a fourth place or fifth place MAC team. I can't see that being close. I just can't.
No, like a
If you're
20
talking
point
like
blowout.
yeah. If you miss like the top, geez, just basically Toledo from that conference. Everybody else is just could be rough if they get if they play James Madison. Forget about it. If quick lane there could be just like a sudden mismatch that was unforeseen about a month ago
Yeah.
in the Bulls. All right, who lost the week? You know, a lot of the time, I have a hard time separating who lost the week from who won the week because there's a big game and you kind of want to say, like, for example, well, Michigan won the week and Ohio State
Yeah.
lost the week. And that was not the case in Auburn versus Alabama because Alabama tried so hard to give this game away and Auburn just said, no, thank you. Nope, we're not going to win this one. You cannot make us win this one. It was unreal. I'm not going to recount everything because, anybody that's listening / watching clearly knows what happened in that one. I just want to say one thing. One Twitter account that we follow each other, it's a gentleman named Graham Coffey. He covers Georgia. He does a really good job. Really smart guy. I was a little bit behind on Twitter and he just tweeted OMG LOL. And it was towards the end of the game. And my first reaction was the beauty of this is this could be about any of like the last 12 plays.
Yeah.
And you don't know, but it would completely apply. It would just, the whole punt thing, the whole illegal forward pass, everything was just nuts about that. And it was all just building up to this poor lass and the tears that you see. Welcome to college football, ma'am.
This was so insane. I was following this game a little bit, and they weren't putting Auburn away. They weren't putting Auburn away. They weren't putting Auburn away. And I was tempted to bet this game. I did. I'm like, no, they'll put them away. It's fine. Because Bama has a weird habit of keeping these Iron Bowls close, and I don't know what it is exactly. But they did, and I was just like, no, Auburn's not actually that good this year. They literally just lost to a Conference USA team. I mean, we like New Mexico State, just not that much. Like, they're not New Mexico. I'm still taking Bama over New Mexico State, so there's a gap there. So I'm like, okay, they're not that good, but I did not expect this, and then. And the best part about this is that this is probably gonna blow your mind. Somehow my sister is an Alabama fan, and as I was seeing the last minutes of this game on my phone, and I'm like, we were having supper, and I'm like, guess who's losing in the Iron Bowl right now? And the only reason I even said that was because I looked down on my phone, and it was like 4th and 31 with like seconds left, and I'm like, oh, they're gonna lose. How could you possibly convert this? And I'm like, and then basically she was there with her boyfriend, and then I'm like, oh, this is the 10th year anniversary of the kick six, and then her boyfriend who doesn't watch football was like, what is that? Let me explain that to them. And I looked at my phone, and I'm like, they won? What? Because I'm seeing Bama people celebrating. I'm like, what? What? I don't think I've ever seen a 4th and 31 or 4th and goal from the 31-yard line. I don't think it's ever happened. Has it ever happened before? I'm like
I don't remember
90%
ever
sure it
seeing
has.
a fourth and goal that was actually gone for of that length.
Yeah,
That's a personal
nothing more
record
than
for
like
my
10 or
lifetime.
15 yards or 20
Yeah.
yards. Like that was because I'm like, it's over. There's no way. And then they rush two for some unknown reason. I guess they was like, it's a Hail Mary. I'm like, well, I guess it's kind of a Hail Mary, but it's also not really a Hail Mary.
Well,
But
it's not
okay.
far enough. Yeah. I mean, you can run a play ish. It's
I
not
mean, you
just
could
throwing it up and hoping that things happen. I mean, you can
because then
actually
if
throw
you
it
only
to a
run
guy.
if you I guess you rush four because you're afraid Miller could run it, but he's 30 yards out. You have lots of time to
Yeah.
stop him. But then you leave that guy open.
Yeah.
And the best part was I saw this as like on YouTube after Nick Saban said, you know, believe it or not, we actually practice that play. I'm like, no, you don't. Like, there's no way. Like, okay, now maybe you do something similar. Maybe you do like a Hail Mary from the 40. Like, okay, but no, you do not. You're like, okay, it's 4th and 31. We're down four. Auburn's going to rush. Like, no. I'm like, okay,
You know
maybe
what?
something, but like,
No, you're wrong. Saban is such a genius. He not only practices that play, he practices that scenario. He literally practiced before, okay, you're going to make an illegal forward pass, but you're going to look like a dope by running past the line of scrimmage and then running back and then throwing the ball when everybody who knows the rules knows that you cannot do that, just to really set up the whole rope-a-dope thing, just to make them think that we don't know what we're doing. It was
mhm.
he practices the whole sequence there because he's Nick Saban.
just just insanity. And here's the why is there like random coaches who can like are really competitive with Nick Saban, like Hugh Freeze
Oh,
there now at Auburn, formerly Old Miss. Jimbo Fisher, that game was always like there was times when that spread was like 20, they'd win by a field goal. Why is it that like randomly some coaches can beat Saban, and
yeah.
apparently it applies to Steve Sarkisian as well. And like this is like there's clearly something that these guys are doing, and they know something, or maybe they know a better scheme and Saban's scheme doesn't work well against them that they're running on. There's something. I'm going to look
Yeah.
into this because there's something where some coaches, and maybe I'm not sure if it fully extends to Kirby Smart or not. I think maybe a little bit, but like there's something where some of these guys know something, and that's getting them competitive with Bama. I don't know what it is, but it's very fascinating. I want to look
Yeah.
into that more in the off season.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, but that was an awesome one. Again,
Yeah,
thank you, college football. That's not going
yeah,
to happen in any other sport. So
yeah.
okay, I'm guessing I don't know. I didn't see this play. Was this ruled a first down?
Well, it was a first down for some reason. Here's the thing: when I saw this, because I was watching this live, and I saw the slide, I'm like, oh no, and I was not prepared for what exactly was about to happen. It was still even worse than I thought. They literally tried to murder this guy to the point that when because I needed this, I wanted to show this clip of the slide and the fact that the impending feeling of dread. I was like, oh okay, I'm gonna go on YouTube. I'm gonna search Tate Rodmaker hit. I did Tate space R Tate Rodmaker hit. That is how like this guy is. I mean, okay, he's the backup quarterback, but he's now the starting quarterback for Florida. His most watched video is him getting almost murdered by two Florida players. And here's the thing, this game is so ridiculous because you're Florida. You are 5-6. It's been a relatively disappointing year. You are going against your arch rival. They are on an undefeated season, but there's a silver lining. Their star quarterback is gone. Their star quarterback was injured last year. Last game, literally last game, this is their backup who was barely very fresh, and you have a 12-point lead early in the game. You get a 12-point lead off of on the back of a touchdown, a field goal, and then you get a safety. You absolutely murder this guy in the end zone too to get a safety. And then you can't seal the deal to one, get bowl eligibility and ruin your arch rivals' perfect season. And you also can't even cover a 6.5-point spread while you're doing it too because of whatever this was. Because then this was like, and it's like it was so funny because it was like they were after this they were reviewing it. And I'm like, what are they reviewing it for? Like criminal charges? Like seriously? Like okay, it's clearly targeting. I don't understand why you had to review it. I mean, I guess you mechanically have to, but like it was very clearly targeting. It's just I don't I don't know what's wrong with this Florida team. I mean, it's funny because we talked about early. Remember early in the when we did all the previews, and I said like, oh, Florida with Grant Mertz. Maybe Grant Mertz could have a somewhat of a Bo Nix, turnaround. And you guys, everybody was like, oh no, that's not going to happen. And okay, not Bo Nix, but like 60-ish% of a Bo, like a lot better than expected. He
Yeah.
was not the like if you had told me, and actually I looked at the stats. Grant Mertz has 3 interceptions. If you had told me Grant Mertz would have 3 interceptions in the 2023 season, I would have been like,
Which
in
game
one
was
game,
that?
right? Yeah, like exactly.
Okay.
Which game was that? Not, oh, okay. Like Grant Mertz has played amazing, and this team isn't going to go to a bowl game. And like, I don't understand. This defense is always the problem in this team. They always lose games because of the defense. This apparently right here is a perfect example because this is literally Florida had to punt it. They return it back to I think something along the 40-ish yard line. And here, what are you doing? This guy is like so far away from. There's no reason for this at all. This is completely unnecessary. He's sliding a good 5 yards away from the first down marker. They have no out. They have 17 points all game. They're very clearly going to punt it away because if they go for it and you don't get it, you're like yards away from field goal. You can kill the clock, and like they're going to have to punt. What was this for? There was no reason for this at all. This was horrible coaching on this team. There's no and if one of them did it, I'd be okay. The other guy almost did it too. They should have kicked both of them for targeting. Like. And then you see the other guy there, number 1 there. He's just watching. He's just like, oh no, and you can see he realizes what's about to happen too. But I don't know. They're not going to fire Billy Napier yet, but like he's going to come into 2023 on the hottest of hot seats. And it's just with Florida, there's always some hilarious moment from the shoe throwing to all those times when there's randomly linemen blocking themselves, linemen blocking other linemen. That happens all the time with Florida as well. There's always something. So, yeah, Florida is. It's just.
It's the Florida Man program, basically, right?
Yeah, it's become that. But like again, this was a team that competed with national championships under Meyer, and I mean, okay, obviously, but like. It is still one of the top programs in the country. It has one of the biggest athletic departments. It has the biggest pools. But this is ridiculous. Like they could have easily beaten their arch rival, gone to a bowl game, and then we would be top. We wouldn't. They could again like this. The chaos the chaos for the CFP we're going to talk about. They could had they not done this. Had they not tried to murder this guy, none of this might have happened. We might not have to worry about anything. But they decided to try to murder this person. Which, okay, if you're going to try to take out the opposing quarterback, do it in the first quarter, not the fourth. There's 3 minutes left in the game. What's he going to do? Florida State's going to somehow win, and then there's going to be chaos, all because Florida decided they were trying to murder someone. Just...
Yeah, I didn't see this, but it seems like number 1 should just have his hands on top of his head at this point, just saying, "Oh no, don't do it."
He's like he knows.
Yeah. All right, victory laps. Before the season, I just said, "Hey, this is an interesting team, Texas State," and it wasn't really, they did such an overhaul that it wasn't really any kind of metrics that I could apply as much as just looking at to Texas State. That is, it was more like I said, looking at the rest of that division and saying, boy, there's a lot of real estate ahead of last place in the West. And they proved it by, South Alabama did not have an awesome season, but they're still a good football team. They beat Oklahoma State. I don't know if Texas State finished like 3rd, or this might have actually given them 2nd place because they would get the tiebreaker over at South Alabama. But, applying the metrics to basically everybody else in that geography, what did I call it? The crowded neighborhood. There were a lot of times when in the previews, I said, well, I can't really play this team on season total because they're in a crowded neighborhood. There's too many toss-up games. And, kind of the other side of that would be the open real estate play, where it's like, yeah, this is an unknown. It's not going to take a lot to move up from last place to 3rd or whatever. And lucky play by me. So, I mean, they covered the over, I think, in October. But this is, man, good job. And I think I keep on hearing GJ Kinney's name for better jobs. I think I've heard him for the Houston job, which would make sense. He was actually the head coach at with less experience at the world famous Incarnate Word.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the Incarnate Word that broke my model. Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I were like, yeah, they're averaging 14 yards a play. Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, this is a great call by us, and this is a fun team too. Like Texas State, they randomly did some really bad games, but honestly, as a whole, they were a pretty good team. And again, when you're rebuilding something from scratch, that's a very positive thing, right? So
Yep.
yeah, really great season for them. Really good coach. I'd love him to go to Houston. That sounds really fun. The thing is, it's weird because there was like a couple weeks where people were like, "Yeah, no one's been fired yet," and like now everybody's been fired. Now like, okay, everybody's fired. They're like, okay, yeah, now like Jimbo Fisher went, and then people are like, yeah, okay, you know what, we should fire our head coach too. So then they fired Houston, fired their head coach, and Indiana did too, and then I think Chip Kelly's gone from UCLA, or is he not yet been
No,
fired?
he's
Not
going to
yet.
stay. Actually, they're keeping him. Yeah.
They are. I thought I heard they were firing
Yeah.
him.
No, they're keeping him. You mentioned Houston. Yeah. Who else? You mentioned Indiana. I should know more. Anybody get fired from the MAC? It's not
I
like
don't
that.
think
It's
so.
not like nobody should. Okay, I'm sure there are plenty of people that should be. So
It's a pretty down
yeah,
year for the MAC.
well, yeah. Well, it's kind of a MAC season. So yeah. All right. Should we go into yours then?
Yeah. So I'm gonna. There you go. Yeah, you put the blue box around it. That's good because when I was building the
Yes.
slide, I'm like, yeah, it's not really. No, this is my victory lap from literally last week when I made the case about Oregon being a massive. Like they were like, oh, Washington beat Oregon State, they should be number 4, and then I'm like, yeah, but Oregon's like 14-point favorites against them, and then they absolutely destroyed them, and then Oregon is still 5 for some reason. I'm not sure. Like this is the thing, right? Because like, and even the committee member, we'll talk more about that later, but I'll just make this one point quickly. He's saying that like, oh, this Florida State team's a different team now without Jordan Travis, and I'm like, okay, but then you move them up a rank, you move them up a spot. Like, why? Like you said, okay, Washington's better than them, and then now you at the fact that they barely beat Florida, like okay, they covered the spread, but it was very unconvincing. Now we're going to move them up a spot because Ohio State lost. They're better. Like, are you seriously telling me you think they're better than Ohio State? Are they better than Oregon? What's the spread with Florida State versus Oregon neutral field? 14. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, you can't. But again, it's just like it's it just some of this stuff makes no sense, and what the committee says makes no sense at times, and then like I don't know. I just think it's so funny, and this was just such like a perfect call of like hypocrisy. And sure enough, it just like. But Washington is 2 spots ahead of Oregon, even though Oregon destroyed Oregon State, and Washington barely beat them. And then Washington also barely beat Washington State, which is a team Oregon also crushed. So
Yeah, I wouldn't. I guess a couple things. Once when they adopt this language about it's got to be the best teams, not the most deserving. You're asking these people who are for the most part not fit to do so to use their judgment rather than just go by accomplishment. So you're going to get just bad answers because you've got the wrong people there, as I talked about a few weeks ago. I mean, I don't know. If you were a bookie, how badly would you fight for the business of the president of the Sugar Bowl and a national writer for USA Today?
yeah,
I'd give them all the freebies in the world. I'll just tell you that.
I think the argument would be something like, of course, Florida State's going to beat Louisville. They're undefeated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, yep. Okay. What we missed? Yeah, I gotta say, I said Michigan State was doomed based on that horrible list that they put out of potential coaches, and they completely, redeemed themselves with this hire. Really good hire, aside from the obvious, just a guy that's been successful at a tough place to succeed. The way he does it, he recruits. He didn't bring 5 stars to Oregon State, and I don't think he'll bring 5 stars to Michigan State, but He knows how to win with a little bit of the lesser resources, in the shadow of a bigger program, which he will be at Michigan State, and he did the same at Oregon State. So really, really good hire from a program or from an athletic department that I thought really had no freaking clue at all based on that insipid list that was floated out a couple months ago.
Yeah, and no, like 100%. I will disagree with you a little bit there, but I'll first say that 100%, like, great hire. Oregon State's given Oregon fits in many games, like many times. They've won that game 3 of the last 4 years. And the thing is, where I disagree with you is, like, there's no reason why he can't bring 5 stars to Michigan State, right? Like, the magnitude of resource change from Oregon State to Michigan State, right? Like, you now have so much more resources, so much more money. Like, yeah, okay, maybe they're not going to pick every 5 star. They're not going to out 5 star Michigan, but like they could get close. Like they could make this instantly competitive, right? And I think like this could be a sneakily good. Like maybe not this year. And again, Oregon State had a couple of bad rebuilding years, so maybe give Michigan State 1 year to rebuild and fix whatever that was that just happened with Michigan State. Um, but because it was bad, and the best part is it was okay, and then they fired Mel Tucker, and then it went bad, but also going bad also coincided with their schedule actually becoming real because they played a MAC team and I think someone else, and then they're like, oh, we're gonna play Washington. You just got obliterated. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like it's funny when that like actually kicked in. So yeah, no, like straight up, this could be a really good hire, and this team could be competitive. Like again, there's a real chance, and it's not confirmed yet. And every year changes, but like I think the Big Ten could be better than the SEC next year. Like just straight up.
Yeah, I think so. I can just tell you this, using the idiot's guide to game theory, um, as someone whose team is going to the Big Ten, I'm not really delighted about this hire. I think that I would
Hmm.
have really preferred some of those other names. Charles Huff would have been a dandy hire for them,
Yeah,
or Narduzzi, or Matt House. Any of those three would have been just perfect as far as I'm
yeah.
concerned. But
We,
nah,
we can't get
I don't
rid of
know.
this. We can't get rid of this guy. We can't.
Yeah.
We're like we're gonna go to the Big Ten. We have to play against Jonathan Smith. We're like, nope, I'm coming with you too.
Yep. Yep. Okay. Narduzzi Awards. Are you aware of the Mountain West nonsense?
This is insane. Like I literally saw a tweet about this. I'm like, what? Why would you ever do this?
And you and I know football much, much, much better than 90% of the fans.
Yeah.
I had no idea that this, and I don't
No.
know if this commissioner decided to put this in or if this is just a holdover that nobody knew about and it surprised her, but I'm just going to blame her because she's in charge and I don't know. I would think you have to fix it and not let this happen. But having the computers decide, just who on earth is saying, who is thinking, let's just bring back the one thing that people absolutely hated about the BCS and just rub it in people's face and just, come up with, hey, that's what the computers say and that's it. Literally, when a conference does that, I know that other conferences they have like way back, way down on their tiebreakers. It's okay. It's whoever's highest ranked, which you can kind of get
It's
at least
fine.
just in case.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
but you really want to exhaust everything in terms of like playing on the field. This is just insipid. I don't know it. Between this and just the whole crap show that the Pac-12 has been, as far as I'm concerned, all the shots that people in Big Ten and SEC country want to take at West Coast football, go right ahead. I'm not going to stop you. It just
Yeah.
we deserve all of it. Yeah.
No, I did not know this rule existed until I found out about it. I guess it exists only in the case of a three-way tie in terms of record, which is rare, I guess. But and I think they used to have the Mountain West used to have divisions too, so this is probably only a relatively recent
Yeah.
creation,
Until
I'd say.
last year. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it's just like, why would you ever do it? Like, because like it literally felt like it was random. People were like, I have no idea who's going to be in the like. If you go to bed on Saturday, and you're like, I have no idea who's playing the Mountain West Championship game. Somewhere along the line, you screwed up. There has been a mistake somewhere. because you
Mhm.
should know instantly. You shouldn't be like, well, we got to get in and punch stuff into a computer. Like, that's fine for me. If I don't necessarily on Saturday night need to know who my number one team is, that's
Fair.
okay. I can figure that out on Sunday. That's fine. It's not my job. It's your job. You need to, like, you're selling tickets. Like, you're putting on a game in a week, and you're trying to figure out who's going to play in that game. That's insane. Like,
Yeah, and and I gotta say, what would have been great, because I've been in this situation before. I was a consultant, and I was actually, sadly, a financial executive for a couple of healthcare companies. It would have been great if they said, you know what, we don't have the results yet because there was a labor problem in India, and so the people that were supposed to run the thing, they didn't make it to work, and so yeah, we'll tell you by like Tuesday. We'll know.
yeah, no, I like, the thing was, it's kind of, on one hand, it's kind of funny because I thought they like burned all the BCS computers when they were done. I didn't know they brought them back somehow. Like, not unless like, we'll take them. Like, no, like, I didn't. But no, it's just insane. Yeah, this was just crazy, and I don't understand why you would ever do this to settle up some of these tiebreakers. Like, there are so many better ways. And yeah, rankings. You know what? It's fine. You then go to the committee and you tell them, you politely remind them, hey, guess what? Your higher ranked team is going to get into the conference championship game. Keep that in mind when you rank them, because they do funny things with rankings, as we learned today. So I just tell them that, and then you then it's fine. But no, it's, yeah, this was the worst way to decide this. Because, like, here's the thing, I like, we do rankings ourselves, and to be fair, I do incorporate some of the BCS stuff because I like it, and I know the science behind it. But because I know the science behind it, I know its limitations, and I'm like, it's the worst way to do this. Like, it's mathematically correct and it's good for my stuff, but I know the limitations of using this computer ranking system, and the problem with it
Yeah,
is why people hate the BCS, among other things. But
yeah.
yeah,
Also, I think that Gloria Nevarez is pretty well thought of. So I don't know how much this lies at her doorstep, but congratulations to her for being the first commissioner, uh, not athletic director. We're way above that. Conference commissioner to win a Narduzzi Award. That is elite company.
yeah.
That's truly historic. Good for you,
No,
Ms.
I think
Nevarez.
we're breaking history in the next one too, I believe.
Let's.
Yeah. So mine goes to the entire Big Ten. And what is this? Why did you do, like? Here's the thing, and we'll go. I'll explain why this is happening and the stupid reason behind it. And the thing is, so now on one hand, we could take comfort this is never happening again, but also they don't get credit for that because they were screwed by this. Like, there was no way they can make this work with the Pac-12 teams, because then you'd have to mess around with the divisions anyway. So they're like, screw it, we're just going to go with no divisions. So you get a little bit of credit, and then you immediately get it taken away because you can't just add the four West Coast teams into the Big Ten West. That'd be culture shock. It's not fair to the other teams that don't know what offense is. But this is the thing. So you're the Big Ten. You put on an amazing game at noon on Saturday between I think it was at that time, number 2 and number 3 ranked teams in the country. A close game that goes down to the final possession. Ohio State throws an unfortunate interception, ends the game. They lose by 6 points. An incredible game watched by tens of millions of people countrywide. And then you say, okay, next weekend they're going to play a team that has the worst offense in the entire country and is going to be a 23, 24-point favorite against that team, and the winner of that game is going to be our champion. And also the point on the game is going to be 35 points when we were like at almost 60 just yesterday, like last week, against two of the best teams in the country. It's an embarrassment. The Big Ten should be embarrassed by this. The fact that you're like, okay, the winner of this game is going to be our champion. Like, no, you know what? Like, you say screw it. Like, okay, obviously you set rules and you can't do this. But the whole reason this even exists is because they realized that their two best teams were Michigan and Ohio State. And they're like, well, we can't have Michigan and Ohio State play twice in 2 weeks. Why not? Millions of people watch it the first time. You think they're not going to watch it the second time? Like, it's an amazing rivalry between two of the best teams in the country. Why would you not want two of the best teams in the country to play twice? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, I gotta say, you're really being unfair. I don't think there's any way to foresee that there would be a lopsided matchup in the conference title game.
It's only happened the last 3 years.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I forgot about that. I think
Like,
three's being very generous too.
Yeah, like,
it's
this
basically happened every year since, like, I don't know what was the last. Since I actually win this one, like, about maybe 7 years ago. I forget.
I think
No,
so. No.
no, they went to the Rose Bowl after they lost.
Yeah.
They were like, "Oh yeah, we didn't want to make the playoff. We'd rather just go to the Rose Bowl than get embarrassed." I guess it's better to get embarrassed by Christian McCaffrey than by SEC team Brand X. I don't know.
Yeah.
I got to look that up. When was the last? Maybe was it Wisconsin? Maybe.
I remember
Or
Northwestern almost won in 2020, but then they did lose.
man,
They lost that game, but they did almost win that game.
yeah, this is something that we should know for as awesome as we think we are. But yeah, I kind of want to look that up. But yeah, it's I can't disagree with you, but it's not a problem now. And maybe next year we'll be complaining about the Big Ten secretly has the 17th tiebreaker about using the Collie Index, and that's why Oregon is playing Michigan and Ohio State is left out, and they're all have one loss or something. Who knows?
Yeah, that'll be the real kicker next year. But no, it's just it's so like and so many people are like there are so many memes about this game, and like like this is a joke. Both of these teams were going to be 20 some odd point favorites against this. Like it's not even it's not a competitive game, and like it's
Yeah,
just like people are like, oh, if you do this, you're making the regular season mean nothing. It's like here's the thing, and okay, aside from the committee apparently deciding to save Ohio State, yeah, like literally Ohio State entire season, its entire undefeated season, came to a complete end because uh, Kyle McCord threw an interception on that play. And it's not like, okay, the season is done. It's like your season is done. You will now go play in a meaningless bowl just because you lost a game in your opponent's, your arch rivals' home stadium. It's done now. That's it. You get no more second chances. Conversely, Oregon lost to Washington in their home stadium. Now, it was a field goal, not by 6, but guess what? Because the Pac 12 decided to do one thing right and not have divisions, because here's the thing, Oregon and Washington used to be in the same division. That could have also ended Oregon's season too had they not gotten rid of divisions. So like, and now guess what? Oregon can go to the college football playoff now. So
yeah,
that's the insanity of this, is the fact that they've literally shot themselves in the foot by this. And you could have had like, imagine this, because this game is at 8 o'clock at night for some unknown reason. I have no idea who decided this should be in prime time, but you could have had Ohio State, Michigan in prime time in a dome, 8 o'clock at night
yeah,
on a Saturday. 30 million viewers, easy. You're telling me that doesn't rival an NFL game. But now you've got this garbage. I like
yeah.
with a lame duck like offensive coordinator. I don't even know why he's still there. Like, do you have the stat of when the last time the West won the
So
Big Ten?
since they've gone to East versus West, the East has won all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games. You have to go back to 2012 when they had those stupid leaders and legends divisions. You have to
Yes.
go back to 2012 when what's now a West. Actually, okay. In 2012, Wisconsin beat Nebraska, 2 West teams, which is just kind of funny to think that you have 2 now Western teams that played for the championship. 2011, you have Wisconsin beating Michigan State. So that is the only time in the history of this conference that a now Western team has beaten a now Eastern Conference or Division team.
Yeah.
Um, Amazing. And you know what? It's when Michigan State beat Iowa State in 15, that was 16-13. Otherwise, I mean 59-0, 38-31. All right, some of these are close. 27-21, 45-24, 34-21, 22-10, 42-3, 43-22. I mean, this just sounds like a million laughs. I don't well, I was going to say I won't. There won't be enough alcohol to really keep me interested. I mean, the other thing is USC Hoops plays at 7 p.m. my time. That would be 10 your time. I don't think that this game's going to keep me away from that. I don't think the fourth quarter of this one's going to really. If it is, if it's close enough, I will truly be torn. Then, can you imagine? No, I can't. There's just no way. And we'll get to that in part 2, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
The other thing is, the one saving grace about this is that this is also when the ACC championship game is on. So that is the one thing saving this, because because like I'll be able to watch Louisville, Florida State, which should be a competitive game. So okay, I'll watch that, not whatever this is. I don't know what this is. I don't know why this is happening.
Here's the interesting exercise. So, who would you say if you're just going to generically do power ratings? Well, I don't know. I have power ratings here. That's kind of what I do. Who do I have as the highest rated team in the Big Ten West? Of course, it would be Illinois because it's the Big Ten West and nobody knows, and they try to hide how they might be good. If you were going to say Illinois against who would be like the least of the possible contenders, Illinois versus Penn State on a neutral field, I would make it what, Penn State minus 16.5?
Yeah,
Is that
something like that.
aggressive? Yeah. That sounds like fun, doesn't it? I mean, it just yeah. Why wouldn't they kind of go through that exercise in July when they have all this spare time and say, you know what, this is dumb. It's been dumb. It's been dumb for years and years and years. Let's just try something a little different. Now, maybe they were trying to figure out, okay, you know, the secret back door to sweeping the Northwestern stuff under the rug and, you know, getting Washington and Oregon in at that 50% off. But I don't know. Just fix your postseason presentation. It's a bad look.
They're like, okay, we got Washington, Oregon done. We got everything done we wanted this summer, right? They're like,
Yeah.
oh shoot, we forgot to fix
That's
the
right. Yeah.
championship game.
No. Yeah. That one game. Yeah. It's yeah.
There's
Bad
no way
job,
it'll come
but,
back to
you know.
bite us instantly, right? No.
No way. No. But
Like
you know, this is the last time.
Yeah.
It's funny, you know, with all the things about, like I said, I was truly touched by the last Apple Cup. This is a last thing I will not miss at all. Yeah.
And like the other thing about this game is that the spread and total combo is bonkers.
Yeah.
This doesn't make sense. Like, I've never seen this in a spread before. It's basically like Michigan will score all the points and that's it.
Yeah, no, it's just I don't know if you have it'd be interesting to check a single game parlay of, you know, total inside versus just a prop bet. Is Iowa going to score a touchdown? That's almost kind of what it comes down to in some weird distilled way.
Their over under per half is 0.5.
All right, we got to move on from that.
Yes, we have to move on.
That's very well said. All right, noted for future reference, following up from prior points, Jordan McLeod ended the regular season with a 140 apex at Coastal Carolina, 133 for the season. Very proud of him. I did not know that he was the starting quarterback even by the time that we did I think by the time we did the preview. I don't even know if I had seen his name. I think they had somebody else's name in there. So very happy for him. John Paddock, who was miserable at Ball State, is just showing the ups and downs of the Big Ten West. 500 yards passing against Indiana, then 41 at Iowa, and then 334 against Northwestern. I don't know. That kind of maybe shows that there might be a little bit interesting in that Michigan game for like a minute. Maybe like, what's the over-under on like I don't know. J.J. McCarthy's going to throw the ball like 5 times. He's not going to throw the ball in that game. Never mind. Air Force, I don't know. This is like the second year in a row they've really done some dumb things. It just is all at the end of the season. You know, the latest, they actually got outrushed on a per carry basis by Boise State. Now, Boise's run the ball nicely this year. But this just can't happen. It's, you know, that's your move, Air Force. And somebody else, you know, bettered your own dance move.
Yeah.
I don't know. Good.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. We were very narrowly saved by who lost the week, and I was just gonna get like a picture of like an F-35 burning up in a fiery crash. That was the alternative to Florida. But like, I mean, what happened? I don't understand. Like, 6 turnovers versus Army, one of the worst teams in the country. 10-20 loss against Hawaii, a 5-7 team, or 5-8, I think. Cause they played the 13th game. Shutout in second half versus by UNLV. Okay, they're actually a good team, but the other 2 things before that are inexcusable. And Boise State, they don't have a head coach right now. What?
No.
What is happening? I don't understand how Army could do so well in the first half of the season and then just absolutely collapse in the second half. And like, it's so funny because like I'm sure we'll do the bookie segment, and I've got that Air Force play in a couple weeks. We're like, man, such a good play, such insane value, and now it's just dead. It didn't stand a chance. Like,
no, you kind of bought at the top there. You know, that's a funny thing. It's. I wonder if there's somewhere there was a discussion about. Well, yeah, tough game. We got outrushed by Boise. Oh, Boise! You know, you must have got outcoached. Yeah, who was the coach? I don't know. I literally don't even know the name of the coach. I don't
No,
know. And I know this
I
kind of
don't know.
stuff. I don't
Yeah.
know. That's what we do, and we don't know.
Their scouting
That's
is like,
that's
okay, first of all, we got a game prep for this game. Who is their head coach? We don't know. We got
yeah,
to figure
don't
that out
know.
first. Then we'll
Okay.
build the game plan.
Yeah. All right. Next point. Joe Milton just kind of showing, I think, really just, and this is not to say he's not good. Just was kind of right before the season where I said he's a good quarterback, but he's not going to give you what you need for this offense to be what it needs to be for this team to be successful. 103 apex at Mizzou, not quite good enough. Then he just couldn't bring it against Georgia. Not his fault. It just, not many people can, but it really just shows that he had his limitations. And then, of course, he just goes wild against Vandy because that's what this Tennessee offense can do against a really horrible team. So, again, this isn't really a commentary on Joe Milton as much as the expectations that were, I think, too high, just saying, well, anybody can be Hendon Hooker. They're not going to miss him. It's like, no, the offense is kind of plug and play, but you got to be plugging in the right parts. And this is not a Joe Milton sucks. It's like, I didn't get him. Hooker is mobile. He can throw on the run, and Joe Milton can basically, he's got a bazooka, attached to the side of his body, but he cannot throw on the run. So maybe the Iamalavea kid is a better fit. That'll be interesting. That might actually be worth keeping your eye on. Maybe he might be, just a better fit for that system, which would make sense in year 3, since Milton was a portal guy, before the first season for, I'm drawing a blank on his name, Heupel.
Yeah.
Um,
No, yeah,
and then,
I agree with, yeah, I'll quickly just agree with that. Yeah, I think I'm interested to see what Joe Milton could do next year with Tennessee. I think actually there's so much unknown right now. Who's even going to be playing for who next year? But I guess he'd stick around, and it's just like, he needed more maturity, but he's already been like, but this is like his 4th year, I think, already, because he had a couple years with Michigan, I
yeah,
think.
I think his
So,
first season was 20, but that doesn't count. Um,
yeah.
so it'll be
I mean,
interesting
it
to
does count
see.
for age, but yes, it doesn't count, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
um, but yeah, no, it's, yeah, I mean, we'll see. Maybe he'll mature a bit and become a bit more experienced, because there's been some moments when he's been really good, like last week, and there's been some moments he was really bad, like 2 weeks ago. So it's very up and down with Milton here, and there's a lot of potential there, but it needs to be more refined.
Yes. And speaking of up and down, I mentioned this going into the um, Oregon State versus Oregon game where I did this. I'm sorry. Oh no, I got this right. DJU, he had a 153 apex before the Washington game. And then he had a 9 versus Washington. He was awful in that game. And then I said, I want to see how he does versus Oregon to see if basically, can we tell more about the Washington pass defense, or is it DJ? And it's basically a DJ issue. Um, you know, there's no real shame in having a problem against the Oregon defense. It's very good. But in the context of a 9 against Washington, that's not really like the best pass defense I've seen. I'll put it that way in Washington. So this will be interesting, I think, with the, usually, I don't say usually, I've kind of come to not put too much credence into coaching changes in bowl games. That was one of the reasons I've been so hesitant the last couple of years to play bowls, because I just thought, well, my model doesn't have these changes, and it basically, if I just ignored all the coaching changes, I've done very well. There's a lot of carryover. Now, this might be an exception because you've got this guy who clearly is not awesome, and now he's losing his head coach, Jonathan Smith. Oregon State in a bowl game might be. I'll be interested to see who they play. If they play, somebody that's a good pass defense, especially a sneaky pass good defense. I don't think there are any Pac-12 MAC matchups, but weirdly, you've got that Northern Illinois pass defense, which has stayed in the top 10 of defensive apex for almost the whole year. That would be an interesting matchup. Now, I don't think they'll play, but that would be something where if it was less than 2 touchdowns, it would be interesting to see if Northern Illinois could hang with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
All right, new items. This is interesting. Quinn Ewers had a pretty crappy game against Texas Tech, who's not like a super awesome pass defense. still for the year his numbers are good, but I wouldn't really want that. And that was a home game too, and they could really do whatever they wanted. It's kind of weird when you're running up the score that much when your quarterback isn't able to kind of flex in that situation, especially a Sark team. That's really where he would get a lot of empty calorie stats at USC. Um, just interesting. Now they we'll get to part two when they play Oklahoma State, but that's not exactly what I want my quarterback to be coming off of going to the conference title game.
Yeah, it is odd. The thing is, I think the most revealing part about this is that it was announced a couple weeks ago that Quinn Ewers was going to stay at Texas, and I think because I had when I follow some of these guys that do draft analysis, shout out PFF there and PFF Stock Exchange, and they're like, yeah, we slot him in for like a day two, maybe round 2, 3 quarterback, and and the thing is, that's such a and those guys are legit. They know what they're talking about. But the disconnect there between that and the people who talk about Quinn Ewers at Texas, the college people, like first round quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in college football, and they're like, yeah, maybe like a developmental backup, and like it's such a disconnect. But then you see the stats, we see the stats, and that's why one of the reasons why we don't think Texas is that good. But like we see the stats and we're like, yeah, he's not actually that good. This is completely a run first offense. If they couldn't run, they would have nothing. And sometimes when they say they need when they're going to run anyway, sometimes they do get stopped too. They're not unstoppable at the run. Um, but yeah, it's such a weird disconnect between the college people who think he's this god tier quarterback and then the draft people. And I it's funny because like if I thought it was going to be like he'll declare and then he'll go what they said, but then he's like, no, I'm not going, which now makes me 100% think that there's NFL. It's like a lot of these guys hear back from NFL scouts and they'll say we have you day two, third round, maybe even falling into the fourth round. He's like, I'm going to stay back to help my draft stock, and stuff like this is why, right? Like we have not seen that like 300-yard, 3 touchdown, 4 touchdown passing game from Quinn Ewers. We've seen that from Bo Nix. We've seen that from Jane. We've even seen that from Jalen Milrow. Have not seen that from Quinn Ewers. But we have seen the like 100-yard, 150-yard Jonathan Brooks game, right? We've
Yeah,
seen that.
yeah,
We have
yep,
not seen the Quinn Ewers like 300-yard, 4 touchdown game. And I think that's the thing, and that's why he's staying. Which is again one of the more interesting things. Is it's like if he's not that good, you got Archie Manning right there. Why aren't you starting him? And like, is there no pressure to start Archie Manning? And if you're not playing Archie Manning, is he not that good? Like, is he just okay and not good yet? Like, is he like? Anyway, that's a story for a different day. But yeah, that's my take on Quinn Ewers.
yeah. I just it's kind of hard to move him in his freshman year. I think. Yeah, I don't know if he's. I don't think he's as I don't know what he'll be. I just don't know if he's as awesome as basically he was made out to be as a recruit. Maybe just kind of be the takeaway from that. Um, Nebraska's quarterbacking has been so horrible, and they haven't really had one guy there enough to make the bum list. So I just wanted to see as a team what they how they were doing, and they're 129th in all of FBS and Team Apex. They're actually behind Buffalo, which puts them behind Mr. Cole Snyder, who's kind of just. I think if there was a bum list champion of 2023, I think he's kind of got that title. I don't think he's going to
Yeah,
end the season number one, but he's been like just at the top for so long. And yet Nebraska found a way to be worse than him. So congratulations to Matt Rule. Don't know if I'd want to play quarterback for Matt Rule. I'll just say that. Defense for sure. Running back probably. Quarterback not so much. Um, yeah. Anything on that or
yeah.
no?
No, I mean, yeah, it's been rough. And the thing is, like this Nebraska team has like not been horrible. If you just put like an average quarterback, just
No.
an average quarterback, this team could like actually have been pretty. They could have made. They easily would have made a bowl. They probably. I mean, okay, they're not going to win the Big Ten West, but like, or probably not. I don't know. Maybe they could have on top of powerhouse Iowa, but um, no, it's like, and this is what we called out early in the season, right? We said Jeff Sims is a liability. Why would you ever pick Jeff Sims? I don't understand. That was within 2 weeks, it was like, yeah, okay, that was very clearly correct. And it was so apparent. It's like, oh, it's Jeff Simmons was the problem. And now it's like, okay, that's fine. And we were right about that. And that's good. But now it's like, okay, now they can just get any quarterback they want. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. That might actually be good now. So, like, this is something to
Maybe
watch.
these,
Like, when we see which quarterback they get, like, we could be high on Nebraska next year.
maybe DJU. I don't know. Um, just kind of a few more quarterback things here. DeQuan Finn, just kind of like the Quinn Ewers thing. I just don't know if I'd want my quarterback to be coming off a 70 Apex effort against a whatever Central Michigan team going into the conference championship game. Not really encouraging.
Yeah. They won. They crushed Central Michigan though. It's kind of similar to they crushed.
Yeah.
Not as big of a blowout as Texas had, but they did crush Central Michigan. And yeah, it's weird. Toledo has like randomly really really good games and then randomly really really bad games. It's very weird.
It's very Jason Candle. Yeah. In case you're wondering how bad Tate Rodemaker was against Florida's 66 Apex, and he looked every bit shaky as that implies. Pretty fair.
That was before he was murdered. So, but
Okay.
yeah, it's he didn't come back into. He actually didn't come back. Now it was very late in the game, anyways. But he didn't. I don't think he came back. Or no, oh no, I think he there was one like he missed a couple plays that came back in. But like, yeah, it was not good. I watched a lot of that game. Again, they were down 12-0 in the first half. Like, and again, it's like the reason they covered the spread was because of the massive yardage gain from the targeting penalty, and then they just hand the ball off to Trey Benson, and he ran for like 30 yards for a touchdown, and then it's like, okay, that won the game. Like, Rodemaker did next to nothing, and again, like people we saw on Twitter just now, people are like, oh, Florida State wins, they're going to be an undefeated conference champion, they're going to get in. I'm like, okay, but they got to beat Louisville, and Louisville is like a team, and they have a quarterback. I don't know if this guy is a quarterback, and he might also have a concussion too. I don't think they checked that.
Oh my God.
So like, legitimately, like, this is not a lock. Like 13-0 Florida State is not a lock at all. And I would, if I'm Florida State, I am terrified of this game. I'm like, oh my God, this could go really badly. And the thing is, it would be the most Louisville thing to do, to lose to like a 6-6 Kentucky team and then destroy Florida State. So yeah, we'll talk about that in part 2.
Speaking of Kentucky, so one of the things I learned was that Mark Stoops interviewed with Texas A&M the week before the South Carolina game. And so I think that kind of might just inform that really weird loss they had that was kind of befuddling. They played like absolute crap. You kind of see that. And I think we might have seen that too. And I didn't note it here. Traylor, the coach at UTSA, I'm wondering how much of that dud that they had against Tulane had to do with, his interest in the, again, A&M job.
Yeah. I was on at least UTSA there. I mean, I'm not sure if you were as well. And they outgained Tulane. And I think they even outgained Tulane on a per yard basis too, but they had like 5 turnovers. It's just like, oh
my
okay.
God, Jesus.
Like we were on the right side there. I watched that game. It was horrible. It was like, oh, come on. Like, what are you doing? But like Tulane's not good, and they're still now. Tulane is now still 2 spots ahead of Liberty. So
we will talk about that in part 2. I have an opinion on that one for sure. North Carolina, their defense started out so well this year, and I think a lot of that was being able to rid themselves of the Phil Longo strictures. And I think that they improved, and I think there was a counterpunch from basically everybody, and they figured out, oh, all right, now that they play actual defense, we'll just do X instead of Y. And they gave up, over 36 points per game over their last 6 FBS games. I don't know. Still stuff to fix on defense there for sure.
Yeah, this one was like I didn't touch this because this was very clearly a trap with a 2.5 point spread. But I'm like, come on, like you have to win this game. Like, I'm not touching this, but like, come on. And then I saw the score progressing on the scoreboard. And I'm like, no, you're not gonna. And they're like, nope, we are gonna get blown out by this team. Now, to be fair, Brennan Armstrong has made a bit of a comeback in the last couple of games of the season. He's actually looked really good. So fine, all right, maybe it's not as bad. But come on, what are you doing? Like, this team now, NC State now has a better record than you.
Yeah.
I don't. And this is the thing. There's a thing people like. There was a quote on a thing on Twitter where I think it was, I can't remember who it was, but it was someone at North Carolina said like, "Oh no, they're like Mac Brown isn't retiring. Our opponents on the recruiting trail are just saying that to get you to not go to North Carolina." I'm like, "Yeah, you should fire him. You shouldn't retire. You should straight up fire him because this is bad. I don't understand why this keeps happening. Like
Yeah.
every year this happens."
I think the counterpoint might be, yeah, of course he's not retiring. He already retired before the season, right? This can't be his team.
He's already gone. This is the ghost of Mac Brown. This isn't real Mac Brown.
Yeah.
Like,
go ahead.
how does he still have a job? They're just like, yeah, he's fine.
Yeah, they love him there. That's the thing. If you thought that it was kind of rough watching the Clemson and South Carolina game, you're not mistaken. A combined 3.6 yards per attempt from the quarterbacks and a composite negative 11 apex. Good job. Just kind of amazing that Grayson James wasn't involved in this one. Sorry to take a stab at him out of nowhere, but man, that was just a rough watch. That was not good ball.
Yeah. And fun fact, Clemson jumped 2 spots in the rankings this week from the CFP.
Okay, well, geez, of course you play that well.
They beat an SEC. They beat an SEC team. You have to rank up, move a couple spots.
Okay, so Jacksonville State was number 26. They just missed the cut then.
Just must have just missed it. Yeah.
Yeah. Kelly Akarai, I don't know if that's right, but he had a big game against Liberty, a good Liberty defense, 5 catches for over 100 yards. I actually was Googling, and it looks like he's not yet in the transfer portal. UTEP was another team that fired their coach, so
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Going to keep an eye on where this guy lands. I love Conference USA, but I doubt this guy will land at a Conference USA program. I think he's been on that top receiver list for most of the season, or a good part of the season, and he'll probably land at like an ACC-ish kind of program, I'd guess.
Yeah, no, 100%, and shout out to I mean, Conference USA. We love Conference USA, and they're expanding now. They're adding Delaware. That's pretty cool. They're adding FCS teams, and like they're adding the good FCS teams too. Like, okay, you may not know Delaware, but like they actually are a better FCS team. So like pretty excited for that. But yeah, like this is a perfect example of someone who's going to use the transfer portal and get into like a big school, and maybe even get the way to the NFL. So hopefully that we'll see that guy on a field next year in a Power 5 program.
Yeah. Did you see UCF storm the field after becoming bowl eligible with a win over Houston? The whole sentence is so dumb to say. Did you see this?
No, I don't think I saw it. I didn't see this. No, I remember seeing the one with Michigan, and they stormed the field, and I'm like, this is a little overkill. You were 3-point favorites, so I don't think that's. Now, I guess okay, theoretically, like it's emotional because the stuff with Harbaugh, like fine, whatever. Like it's a bit of a gray area, and your arch rival, so fine, I'll give that one to you. But like, you got your 6th win against a team that instantly fired their head coach. That's field storming worthy. Like no.
And I just bring this up because I think, and this might be just gratuitously mean, but it's kind of one of my pet peeves. If you're doing that, you cannot claim the 2017 national title. If you actually won that title, you're not storming the field for beating Houston to go to a bowl. It's just incongruent. There's just no way. No. Did I convince you?
No, I'm taking away the national championship from 2017 from UCF. That in my books, it's gone now.
Good. Okay, we agree on that. And then South Florida is going bowling. I didn't think that was possible. They're just every week they just there was that whole triad of them and UAB and one other team that they just kept on blowing up my metrics week after week, and just I didn't think they were even close, but good for them. That's quite a turnaround in year one. They went. Did they go 1-11 last season? I think
so.
Yeah, that's a good job.
It was bad. USF was like really bad, like unwatchable bad.
Yeah, yeah. So, and with that, thus ends part 1.
Yeah,
Robert, I will see you in part 2.
Yeah, we'll see you in part 2, and we're gonna talk about we're doing something a little different because there are no, there's not like dozens and dozens of games. We're just going to talk about every one.